In late 2020, it was discovered that hackers had gained access to a large number of US organizations, all via a breach of Texas-based software company SolarWinds. It's believed that Russian hackers were to blame for the breaches, and they didn't just hit private organizations like Cisco and Microsoft. They also managed to make their way into the networks of the Departments of Justice, Defense, and numerous other federal agencies. Even though the breaches were first reported in December 2020, the hackers had backdoor access going way back, 8 months even. So how did this happen, and how bad is it? So this attack was a supply chain attack. This is something that's been happening for years in the cybersecurity world, where hackers go after a company that isn't their main target, but supplies to that main target. So they will breach, say, for instance, a cooling provider or a fleet provider or someone who provides the chips in a device. And then that breach will lead to the breach of their customers, and then they can handpick which of those customers they want to spy on.
The SolarWinds hacks, or the Holiday Bay operation as I call it, is probably one of the most consequential cyber espionage campaigns we've ever seen directed against the US government. We have not seen such a stealthy and prolonged access to sensitive emails, sensitive documents inside of those government agencies, really ever.
The way that the hackers did it was to find a coding environment where they could tinker with a piece of software called Orion, which is a fairly mundane piece of IT management software. As soon as they managed to get into that coding environment, they could inject malicious code, which, when downloaded by a SolarWinds customer, would then infect that customer's network. From then on, they have the backdoor installed on a customer's network, and they can start spying on almost whatever they want.
What they're doing here in the SolarWinds campaign is infiltrate an organization, get access to an intelligence source, and keep it going for many, many years. In the past, the operations in cyber have been more of a smash and grab. This is certainly the Holy Grail of a cyber espionage operation, particularly from the perspective of the Russians.
The attackers were able to remain under the radar for so long, largely because they used a technique which is becoming increasingly common amongst very sophisticated hackers, which is to essentially mimic what would be normal behavior on a network when in fact something malicious is going on. First, it wasn't clear exactly what had happened. No one had heard the name SolarWinds linked to it until a few weeks later, when government organizations learned of how widespread the attacks were. And that's when reporting started making out that SolarWinds was patient zero of the breach, and that its customers were the ones who were the targets of the espionage campaign. Ultimately, we don't know the true impact of this breach. All we know is that it's one of the most severe attacks we've seen in a very long time, and it's exposed what everyone has known as a severe vulnerability. That is, supply chain companies are really the best way into all manner of organizations, and there's so much trust has gone into organizations like SolarWinds that we're not properly secure from attacks like this going into the future.
For us to assume that we can build some magical wall around the perimeter of our network and prevent anyone from coming in is just a fallacy, and has been a fallacy for many decades. But what we need to do is assume that they're in and change the methodology to hunt actively for them 24/7 inside the network. Once they're inside, that's where you as a defender will actually have the advantage over the attackers. Presumably, they will not know that network as well as you will, and they will make mistakes. It will take them time to get to their ultimate objectives. And that's where you have the opportunity to find them, catch them, and extract them as quickly as possible. And that's what all organizations need to spend most of their resources focused on.
Just a few months after news of the SolarWinds attacks broke, another huge cyber espionage campaign was revealed. This time, China was apparently to blame and was accused of breaking into tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of Microsoft Exchange servers. If the world needed another sign that digital espionage wasn't slowing up, these two latest attacks show just how bold and brazen America's adversaries have become.